Woo! All right, it's the 10 o'clock hour. I'm Babz Rose Ivy. This is Lovebabz, Lovetalk. Enroue is in the house.
Good morning.
Get your spiritual uplift for the weekend, so you go into the weekend feeling all powerful. Good morning.
That's a lot.
I swear to God. I said this the other day when you were here the other week. I said I love when Enroue comes because I don't have a church home. So this allows me to step into that, deliberately step into a spiritual space, you know, while I'm waiting for some church to find me. So, or not.
Right.
I know that's a lot. I'm not trying to put too much pressure on you, brother.
It's all right.
You're a black man. You can take
feel
it
anyway. I feel all kinds of stuff anyway.
Like every day I walk out my house.
Right. Well, it's interesting on the way here. Feeling something. I mean, feeling a weightiness or a sluggishness or something, and it was interesting. Like, what can I do to turn that around? I gotta feel different. It's like, well, it's all right. That's just what it is. Like, there's nothing. Everything doesn't have to be in search of I gotta feel great and
that's a good point.
Overly bubbly and whatever. I mean, I still feel connected to the things that are important, but I think I'm also feeling, it's like some heaviness. So, there's the climate walkouts and the kind of awareness being centered today around the climate crisis. And, I was thinking about there's some verses in Ifa about the earth itself. And, this is fundamentally a nature-based religion, right? Where how we connect to the divine, right? Not just to kind of, because if I say how we connect to God, it then translates to kind of one thing, but it's how we connect with the divine in and through our relationship with nature, which is also divine. And so that feels super important and relevant, and really feeling all the ways that there's so much disconnection from that.
Yeah.
Individually, systemically, culturally, programmatic, all the things. And it's a real struggle to not just maintain that connection, but I think to hold that while, it's like while the house is burning, right? Like, oh, okay, right. And so I'm just kind of feeling that in a kind of way right now. And, in some ways it's highlighted now, right? It's super visible now. More people are talking about it or trying not to talk about it. In similar ways to other forms of oppression, some are being highlighted now. And, particularly in this country, it's not new for us to be struggling in the face of some form of oppression, some form of systemic oppression. And the impact that it has on our lives and our humanity and our relationships and family and our connections to God and the divine and how we find our way there. So all that's just, I'm just in that.
Yeah.
In that.
And but that's life. It can't always be. I mean, it can be whatever you want it to be, but it's okay when you acknowledge when you're feeling something other than just
right, or numb, right? So it's like things are great, or I'm just kind of numb and not paying attention. So I think that that feeling is the weight, but also the heartbreak that's in that. It's like, why really? Like this is where we are.
Yeah.
And so feeling that in the ways that so many people feel that now, and ways that my ancestors have felt that, and it doesn't mean it is a part of life. It doesn't mean that this is what it is, so it's over. But it's like, all right, now how to stay connected in this, like how to find and be connected to the things that are right, connected to life, capital L, which is still greater than even these struggles, and greater than this is what these policies are leading us to.
I like it. But that's real. Like people need to understand that too. Like people need to understand when they can't quite put their hand on what the world is giving them that is causing some heaviness.
Yeah. So I will share this verse. So I've talked about Ifa, I talked about the sacred literature, or one wing of sacred literature. Because sacred literature in the Orisha tradition lives in different places. And so Ifa is kind of one place where it lives. And so there's a verse in that where, so these come up in spiritual readings, in kind of assessments, right? What's happening with a client. And this verse literally says, so the verse is structured in a way that it talks about a client, a problem, who was helping, like who the priests and priestesses who were there, and a solution. And then there may also be this other kind of moral or teaching that's in it as well. And so this verse in English goes, Osa, the brightly shining one, Ifa, priest of the earth, performed Ifa divination for the earth, who was surrounded by enemies. The earth was told to protect herself from enemies instead of praying for wealth. We are alive. We're certainly alive, and we are praying that as long as we remain on the earth will never be destroyed. And so it's, how can we, recognize that, if we focus so much on the attaining of things, or this is what it's supposed to look like, right? I want to have the things, which is also very much grounded in this culture, right? But these are also things that were developed in connection kind of outside of kind of our current United States capitalist culture. And still this awareness of it can be so easy for people to get caught in the appearance of things, the outer part of things, and really forget where our support is, like in the earth itself. And also that there are things that can really undo us, whether they're internal or external.
We already have an example of that called dinosaurs. I mean, granted, they didn't leave any books, but they left oil.
Right.
So we know what happened.
Right.
And the earth wasn't even in bad shape. But we are leaving the earth in bad shape.
Yeah, we are doing the active part of what the dinosaurs experienced. Right? So the dinosaurs experienced a thing, and we are kind of actively doing that thing.
Yeah.
And we're doing it in a way that actually is about our own suffering. And so if we don't understand that, our health and our well-being is at the core of that, and focus on that, then we will not have a place, we will not have a thing to adorn.
Yeah.
Right. And so this Babz this morning asked me what I was drinking. So I have this something I've been drinking, which is right now it's water with chia seeds and some frozen pineapple.
You are Tegan's husband.
I am. And
because that sounds like something she would bring me.
She put this together. Well, very often we'll have this with like coconut milk instead. And I was like, well, I don't want to have that every day all the time. And so some of this was also about my own health and the kind of internal health. So like externally, well, like things seem okay, but like, oh, what's happening internally? I got some blood work done, and like, oh, the cholesterol is a little bit high, the sugar's a little bit high. And this is over the last year or so. And so I had one doctor who was like, okay, well, we're gonna start giving you some medication to bring these down. I was like, whoa, let's see if I can do this, if I can make some changes in my lifestyle, as they say. And also not realizing that relationship with that particular doctor was also stressful unto itself, and not really feeling heard or listened to. Like, oh, how's this thing? They would bring something up one session and then forget about it by the next one. So I was like, person's not really paying attention to my health and well-being. You got my chart,
but you're not
exactly.
You're not paying attention to what you wrote 2 months ago.
Right. And so I changed providers, and something in that, like I felt I was listened to differently, and so I was actually able to approach my health in a different way. So, I'm 51, and if I don't do if we don't do the active things for our health, and we just kind of keep doing what we're doing, there's a decline that happens because we actually have to do more to maintain.
I feel everything about that. At 56, yes.
And so I was like, well, I had actually a little bit more inspiration and really feeling like, how do I care for myself in a caring way? As opposed to the caring for myself in a punitive way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so drinking this was kind of a part of that. So there's stuff about chia seeds and helping more fiber and helping reduce cholesterol. Cholesterol's binding to the chia seeds, and it helps me drink more water.
Now you know I'm gonna go out there and get some chia seeds.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, there's some things you gotta know. You gotta like keep shaking it around so it doesn't just clump together in a disgusting mass. But it's been a part. So even connected to this aspect of the earth, right? So if I'm not taking care of the inside of the things that can harm me, right? So, and it's not that there's necessarily the active thing coming at me, but it's the if I don't boost myself, then I'm more susceptible to things. Yeah. Right. Then there's either just the deterioration that's happening and I'm not building it up, or right, my immune system's down, now I'm more susceptible to other sicknesses. Yeah. And so this has been a part of that, where I can say, well, not that I can say. So what's happened, I had some blood work done about 3 months ago. Track the numbers. Let's really make some concentrated changes. I did a food log over like 2 weeks, which I never was motivated to do. And my provider was like, you're eating pretty well, but cut out the regular bread that you eat. It was like every morning I'd have some toast, and once in a while, have something else. And what was good is that it wasn't eliminate this all the time, everywhere. It was, this can't be a mainstay. Have it on occasion, that's fine. But it can't be the regular thing. Yeah,
you can't get up every day and have this.
Right. And that was a change. And it's not that what I'm saying now is the answer for everybody, but like looking at and working with someone's like, oh, what do I need to do? And so I just had the 3-month follow-up, new blood work done, and all my numbers went down. Yay! And you did it. LDLs went down, and it was all from, here's some like dietary shifts. Yeah. Nothing actually very dramatic, and had a really significant impact. And so I also know that, so if I'm able to meet some of the other goals, things will keep moving in a really positive direction. One thing I want to say, particularly for people of African descent, is that get your vitamin D levels checked.
That's what I need to do next. That's because I know I don't get enough vitamin D because I take meds that deplete it.
Oh, so even without that,
and I can't be in the sun for some of these meds. So do you know what I mean? So it's like I'm in a deficit.
Yes, and even though I had been taking vitamin D at appropriate levels, I was actually at a deficit. So I needed to boost my intake. And there's all kinds of things about vitamin D which is beneficial, but particularly for people with any kind of melanin, we're at a deficiency simply by living here in the Northeast. Yeah, we're just not going to get enough. Yes, I just read that. It has lots of impact, and there's some correlation. So.
And we're not eating enough fish. Like I can't eat enough fish to shore that up. Right. And I don't drink milk. Like I can't have milk protein.
Yeah, and there's actually some simple vitamin D drops you can take, which can give you
pills.
Which can give. So I like the drops because I can just take a few drops, and it's not like another pill to take. I'm tired of taking pills. And there's correlations, and there's things about vitamin D and health, and there's some things that I've been looking at around Black women and fibroids, and maybe some associations with some vitamin D. So the short version is not like here's the prescription that I'm giving people, but I was able with some support to look at what is the range of things that are going on in my health and well-being, and how can I take some steps to deal with that differently? Because if I don't, I'm not going to be here, right? And so like this verse, like, we are praying that as long as we're like alive, that the earth isn't destroyed. Because if the earth is destroyed,
what are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do? If our bodies are destroyed, there's no
I'm not getting another body.
Right? My hair fell out, but I'm still okay. It's like no, there's no body. Right? We need these containers. There's blessings about these containers that we're in.
I have no illusions that I'm going to die. Like I don't have any illusions about that. What I want to do is live well. Yes. While I'm alive. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and I realized there's so much. So with the shift in providers, I had realized how much fear was tied up with my health. Oh. And paying attention to it. And it was like, this just feels overwhelming. well, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to do this. Or this person isn't really paying attention to me and helping me the way I need. So I guess I'm just going to like hold on and not take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly for people who are marginalized in one way or another, you know, we hold so much in our bodies.
Oh,
and if we don't have a little bit of capacity and support, it becomes something that we ignore and we get numb to.
I mean, we hold trauma in our bodies.
Trauma in our bodies.
And I just learned this in the last, I don't know, several years, that trauma of any sort is held in your body. And then I read this piece talking about the Middle Passage and how they were linking high blood pressure from all the way back to the Middle Passage and how it just carried into our bodies through generations, because trauma has memory in the blood and in your body. And I was like, it freaked me out. I had to put it down. I was like, you know what? This is heavy, right? Like I don't even know how to hold this. So let me put it down and come back to it.
When you combine that with ways that it then gets to be a part of a culture.
Yes.
Right. So there's distress, there's trauma, there's ways that an individual responds to that, how they live differently.
Yeah.
Right. Part of PTSD is hypervigilance, right? This the perception of danger when there's no danger. In the midst of a traumatic experience, it is dangerous. However, the post-traumatic part is afterwards is still that experience.
Yes.
And so imagine here's a person who's then living and raising children with the hyper-vigilant part that the world is unsafe, right? And it's difficult to tease out because like you still have real violence and real danger. However, what happens is if you're on alert all the time, that overwhelms the system. So even when there's a place to rest, the system can't rest because of the trauma. And then that becomes how we raise each other.
And I think that's just us.
We grow up in.
That is us all the time. Yeah. Like we stay in a state of hypervigilance.
Yes.
Unwittingly.
Right. Yeah. Well, of course. We can't just, it requires an awareness to see what's happening.
Yeah.
But if you're in it, you
except when I go to Martha's Vineyard.
Well, then.
And there's nothing but black people. I'm at ease.
Well, that's when you notice the rest.
Yes.
Your place of rest.
Yes. I'm at ease. Like I don't feel like I'm hyped. I feel like I could come down. You know what I mean? And I think it's a safety issue and a familiarity issue. Right. But I don't feel the same as if when I'm like in Nantucket.
Right.
I'm on Nantucket, I'm a different animal.
Well, what's powerful, and I think this gets to the ways it can be confusing and what our liberation is or isn't. Because some of that, I would be curious, is some of that is you're consciously saying, I'm safer, right? I can rest here because of how this looks and how this appears.
Yeah.
Regardless of what is happening.
Yeah.
Right? Who's looking or not looking, whatever. And then you go to a place like Nantucket, and because there's the whiteness there, your mind is like, oh, because of that, this is not safe, which is actually a similar way of not looking at what is happening, right? It's not that the people there are actually doing something that I have to be concerned about.
Yes.
But there's the like, oh, but, and this might, and there's a way it's important to tease out for our own health and liberation to say, can I, maybe not the fullest sense in the same kind of ease, but maybe there's another 25% that I could feel in Nantucket. That's my generation of that stress. My system and internally might be generating that kind of stress because actually there is no danger here, actually.
That feels like a false narrative to me every time. That feels like a false narrative that I will not afford myself the luxury of.
Right. But so
in those
I would
spaces.
Be curious. Right. And so this isn't, I'm not telling you like what you're right and wrong, but it's
I know,
a curious
but I'm just
place
saying,
to investigate.
I'm thinking about that.
That's the hypervigilance.
Yes.
The perception of danger when there's actually no danger.
Yeah.
Because, if we look at danger and harm that happens to black people, right? Where's more violent crime is actually received by other black people.
Yes.
Right?
I get that.
Yes, there's systemic oppression that's happening over all of that, right? And so that is not going wherever we go.
Yeah.
That's actually still there.
I see what you're saying because let me tell you something. I've been in spaces where it's been Black people,
sexual assault,
and
domestic
I know
violence,
damn
intimate partner
well
violence.
this is not.
Right.
The tension is high.
Right.
So, you know, and even though I don't exhibit the tension is high, my body starts to like
feel it.
You know, you become bionic and you start like, okay, let me inventory.
Who's here? Who's not?
And
who's
let me,
on my back?
yes, because so there is that. So my point is, I guess, is that there's a duality in this hypervigilance that we get it coming and going.
Yes.
And then you throw gender on that, and I'm in a very vulnerable place wherever I go. Right. No matter who's in those spaces, I'm always vulnerable. Woo.
Right.
That's too much.
Right. And so it becomes too much in our system, and then we do things to manage that too muchness.
Yeah.
Right. Because we can't, well, we do live in that heightened state, and then that impacts our health.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. High blood pressure, diabetes, we all got all that, right? Stress, right, impacts all those things. Yes. And so if
you go to work, oh Lord.
Right. And so at the very least, there's that piece of like, how do we heal enough from the real things that have happened so that we can see clearly what is actually happening around us.
Yeah.
And that's a place of, it doesn't mean that like, well, if I change how I'm thinking, all of a sudden I'm magically free from all these things.
No.
But it means that I can actually be present and deal with them from a place of creativity and presence versus being in a place of overwhelm and have distorted thinking about what's dangerous, what's not.
Well, I think, I am appreciating this conversation because now it's got me thinking about all the ways in which we're starting to see Black people try to save themselves. Yeah. I'm talking about like yoga and getting outside and doing meditative things, getting in meditation groups, getting dance in there, all these things that communities as a whole is trying to sort of do to combat. There's a lot of stuff that we cannot change, but there's some things that we could do internally to sort of bring it down so that we can be. Right.
Because we can't, in that state of overwhelm, we can't be.
Yeah.
Why would I sit here and be? There's a lot of things to be worried about. And so kind of teasing that out, like, well, so I find that one of the hardest things is, it's hard for me because like, we're caught in our thinking. We believe everything we think for the most part, unless we have practices that help us out of that. Yet, because of traumas, because of hurts, because of all kinds of things, our thinking is actually distorted. That's the hypervigilance is a distorted way of thinking. It's I know I'm in the room by myself, but any second someone gonna kick in through that door and do something because that's what happened before, and I was not ready for it before, so I better be ready for it now.
Yeah.
Even though there's actually no way that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
There's the element of like, well, anything could, right? A plane could fall out of the sky on us.
Yeah.
Other things could happen.
And it has happened.
And it does happen.
So, okay.
But the impact of living every second as if that's going to happen actually harms us more than the thing itself.
Because I know people who live like that, who stay in the ready for whatever. Like, just height.
Right. You never, what if? What if? And that's all about not being present.
Yeah.
Because the what if is like there's a maybe in the future that I need to worry about now, as if the worry about it now would change that. Because what usually in that worry, people aren't actually doing something to ensure that thing doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's I just have to be ready for something that I might or that I'm afraid of happening.
My ex-husband is one of those people. Like when I used to take the kids on hikes, he's like, "Oh no, don't take them on hikes." I was like, "Why?" "Oh, because anything could happen." What? What do you think could happen in the backyard? But
right. Walking down the street, you go to the store, more things are likely to happen there.
But he was so like, no. Something could happen. Like what? Like pirates? I don't understand. Like what?
Pirates.
I was trying to understand what you mean.
Well, then you add you add to that into the nature, right? And so there's a level of. I was visiting Common Ground recently, and I was out in one of their outdoor education spaces, and I was talking to someone, and I was asking about students, and I remember working there a number of years ago doing a program, and seniors, so they had been there for 4 years, right? This is a school at the foot of West Rock.
I know, I'm on their board.
Right. You know, in as much of the woods as you're going to be, right?
Yeah,
You
in
be there,
a
you're
city.
like in the city, right? It's wonderful. And seniors who were maybe 200 feet from their building had never walked that far into the woods, which was still developed property. It wasn't like, we just like went on some off the trail or something. This was like, oh no, this is an outdoor classroom that's still connected to programs. And they were like,
where are we?
Is it okay to be here? Is something gonna like come out? Or are they come a deer? Did it come out? And it wasn't even like a bobcat. They were worried about like a cougar or something coming out, or like rattlesnakes. It was like a deer. It's like, well, even if there was, that's a deer. It's not gonna come at you.
Yeah,
it's not trying to eat you.
It's not deers going wild.
But it really spoke to the fear.
Yeah.
Of nature.
Yeah.
Right. And so we have a culture that's, you know, nature is dangerous. Nature is to be tamed and used as a resource. It's unknown. It's chaotic. There's no order to it. And so that gets internalized by all of us. And then you add onto it ways that nature and our experience in terms of our ancestry, and not even so long ago, has been a place of pain, right? So either escaping enslavement or working the land or being chased through it. And so it can be a place of cultural trauma. So people are holding like, that's a dangerous place over there, even though it's not my experience with it. Cultural trauma in terms of that's just unknown. You never know what's going to happen in the dark woods, right? It becomes this replicated message of, you know, darkness, right? Blackness, unknown mystery. That's all bad, right? Africa, the dark continent, all these things.
Ooh.
And so there's that added internalization of, there's nothing there for me, and I should just stay away into the pavement. Where the pavement is here, then I'm safe, which is a distorted way of thinking.
Yeah.
Right? And actually robs us.
Because a piano could fall on your head in the pavement.
Car.
And
crime,
we've seen it. Yeah.
You know, actually, if you want stepping out into the woods, it's safer. For real.
No,
it's safer. I mean, you know, separate from like, you know, all that I how it's rejuvenating for me, you know, that's just a real thing.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good that's a good point.
Yet, you know, it touches, it's also bigger than we are. Right? And I think that can also be a frightening thing, right? So much of our lives, so we talk about hypervigilance, a response to that is a desire for control of everything.
Yeah.
And that can be one end of things. So it's not that everybody who has PTSD has this, experiences this in the same way, but there's some commonalities around it. Like, well, if I'm in control of everything, then I will be safe because I was hurt when I didn't have control. And so there's a pairing of that. And so nature, and especially in terms of, because of how our culture is separate from a relationship with it that's healthy, is about control. Well, here's the forest. Well, it's a managed forest, and we grow the things fast and tall so we can cut them down, and like that's okay. Or like, you know, this is the ocean. Well, that's kind of big and unknown, but let's put some things there, and we'll develop these communities and get some control over it. And you can go out in your boat in a certain way, or like this is how we're farming in there. Aspects of control get brought in because it connects us to something that's actually bigger than us, and which, unless we're developing a different relationship with that kind of mystery, that level of mystery, it can just be scary. You know, these forces are, you know, can be big and not personal, right? Tide pulls you out. Wait, but you know, I was trying to do the and that's what the tide is moving. The tide didn't say, you know, I'm gonna everyone else around you, I'm gonna let stay there. I'm gonna do this little strip and just pluck you out. Right?
No.
No. Has not been my experience.
So what you're saying, the tide is not personal like that?
No. And like, well, and there's a piece around connectivity and mystery and wonder that also happens with nature. We come across things.
Yes.
We experience nature in ways that resonate as like in the same ways that, you know, having a synchronistic meeting with somebody, you know, I'm in a city I never go to, and I run into the person who grew up next door to me, walking down the street.
And
right?
that happens
and
a
that
lot.
Happens, right? And that feels like, ooh, this has meaning. This is a thing. And so that also happens in our relationship with nature. However, more often than not, we're not listening to that. It would be like saying this person walks by and we just don't see them.
Yeah.
Right. So we miss that.
Yeah.
It doesn't become a place where that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean that it's all about us, but it also doesn't mean that it's not about us. And that's the kind of wonder and mystery of it. Life is, we are the center of the universe, and we are like dust and here for the blink of an eye, and the universe is going to roll on.
Yeah.
Like both of those are true.
Yes.
And
but I love the mystery of that.
Mm-hmm.
I love the mystery of that. This is probably why I took to religion so well. It's because I love, people like the finite things. Mm-hmm. I like the mystery and the space between what I can imagine and what I know, right? So I like that space, the cosmic space of what if and how about and maybe or ooh.
And I don't know.
And I don't know.
And that's hard.
You know?
I mean, for me, it's a hard thing to keep. I struggle, keep coming back to like, I really don't know. It's still bigger than I think.
I don't mind. I like not knowing. I was like, I don't know.
There's a piece I like it, but there's also, I've so much of my life has been spent on figuring things out, having an understanding of things, navigating things. I'm not getting my needs met here. Okay, let me see how I can meet them over there. Oh, I come here. If I understand this, then I can engage with it. And a lot of that is because there was a feeling of, if I'm really myself, somehow I don't fit into what is. And so if I can figure it out, then I can find the way to fit. And so the unlearning of that.
I was gonna say you got to unlearn that.
Yeah, the unlearning of that is the actually.
Is that a constant unlearning? Do you feel like when you catch yourself doing it, you're like, okay, wait.
Yeah, that's real.
I gotta check myself.
And so naming it is like, oh, right. And so I've been able to develop kind of my system, right, my persona, my beingness, to start to orient to like, well, I don't know that, but I trust it. So I trust that direction, even if I don't have that figured out.
Yeah.
And I might be scared, I might be nervous, or I might be excited, but like, I don't know what that's gonna do, and that's the way I need to go.
Yeah,
that's what's best for me.
That's how I think that's hard for people. It's not hard for me because
you Babz.
I learned this word when I was studying to be a spiritual director. I love the word allow. I love allowing, and that's an easier deal for me than permission or any other kind of thing. Allowing things to sort of come or go or exist or be, and I always have to remind myself that I'm all right, okay,
So I want to invite you to allow more of yourself to be at ease when you're in Nantucket. I
mean, I find ways.
I know. I'm just saying.
But it's not.
You brought it up.
No, but you know what? It's a muscle that I have cultivated that most people have cultivated.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
right.
On guard.
Yeah, it's just there.
On guard. And I think it's a Black woman thing always. I think it's a Black people thing because we are in spaces that are oftentimes not don't make allowances for us by virtue of skin, right?
We're in a system designed with the model that white is supreme.
Yeah.
And we will allow some in and we'll keep others out of that.
Yeah.
So it is not confusing why we feel that way.
Yeah.
In terms of race.
Yeah.
So and there are other systems that have been a part of the building blocks of this culture that we find ourselves in, this society that we have internalized. And so part of the liberation is how do we clear out some of that internalized part?
Yeah.
So then we know what's there and what's not. Because the internalization means the voice and the no doesn't actually have to happen anymore. We're doing it.
I like that. I mean, it's one of these things I mean, the boyfriend is Jewish, so very white, and so.
But they weren't. They became white. Jews became white.
Yeah.
and start out in this country white. And there's still, even with the kind of white privilege that many have, there's still rampant anti-Semitism that also exists. And so, as you talk about like where the spaces where people are allowed to really be themselves, right? We're in when you add capitalism, you have white supremacy, you have patriarchy, you also have Christianity as a part of that model of what is considered the norm. And so that then becomes I was listening to some people say, conservatives, Christianity means XYZ, and I kind of laughed. I was like, well, that's not actually Christianity. That's how you politicize some of it. And actually then there was a counter of someone who's more progressive saying like, actually this is what we're also trying to uphold. And so, well, I say that because one of the narratives was this idea from this person who was on the right saying like somehow they had to fight in this country for Christianity. And it was
like, really?
It was, right. I was no.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right. But it was because of the politicization of what they were
like say that.
Like, right, exactly. Right. I was like, just say that.
Like don't.
And he said it later, and I was like, see, now you sound absurd because now I can say no, I don't believe that. But that's part of the marketing. That's part of the market. That's part of the marketing of oppression.
It is.
We'll couch all these things in just what normality is.
And it works. It works.
That's why the house is on fire. Yes.
It is. And I don't know how to. It's like when I hear the stories of the Titanic and the band just kept playing. Like, well, what else are we gonna do? It's like, this is what we do. We just gonna play out until we can't play anymore. And I was like, wow.
That's a thing.
It's a thing. I don't know. I don't even know how you. I don't know how you do that. I guess you just whatever. So, but this is the only Earth we have. So people better get right or get left or something.
Right.
Because we don't have. There's no other planet that we know of. Now I'm convinced that there probably is another planet that we could go to, but darn well that's going to be segregated, and people with money are going to get there first. And
right. Well, why would it get started and fun? Right. Here's another thing: colonized in any way that's different than how everything else has been colonized.
Exactly, because colonization worked. I mean, it works for the people who do it.
Yes.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work for the people being colonized.
Right, and it hasn't worked for the planet.
It ain't worked for the planet, but but if you thinking, let's just go to another planet and keep planet hopping, because I'm convinced that people know things that other people don't know.
Well, yes.
I'm convinced that.
What do you mean? I mean, yes, people know things that other people don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm convinced that there's a select few that I probably know that there is some viable planet out there. But that's not anything you can have a conversation about, because those things are very still, weird.
Yeah, but
like
even if that were true, and people knew that, these systems are so segregated.
I know.
What would change? It wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't.
I mean, we know. It's not like we don't know that people are actively oppressing us.
Yeah.
So whether there's somewhere else that they're going, or whether it's a bunker, whether it's a place here, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I will tell you this,
we got to do.
I'm challenged by the people who don't know that they're being oppressed.
Yeah.
And those conversations make me more fearful than these bigger esoteric conversations. Those conversations where I have with people who don't see it, who don't feel it, feel it but will dismiss it and explain it as something other. That's the thing that makes me nervous, and the disconnect from the truth of what's happening. I guess I'm always thinking about what's the Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne movie? The little movie,
Matrix?
The Matrix. I'm always thinking about that and the truth of that. and how people were willing, even though they knew the truth.
People want to stay asleep.
They wanted to. They knew they liked
this culture is
the
really
alternate
good.
reality.
You want to go to sleep. You want to disconnect. There are all kinds of ways to make you feel good about that.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing around addiction is why? Because it works.
It does. But I've been thinking about the Matrix a lot lately, and I struggle with it too. I was like, all right, the truth is so gritty and so.
Well, it's real.
Like, oh.
I mean, that's the thing about reality is it's you can't con it.
Yeah.
I mean, which was actually something that I really appreciated about in terms of this piece around nature. Like it was a place that I felt a certain way, and it wasn't about me. Like, I couldn't get away with it. I couldn't get away with that same kind of con. Like it was, like if you're trying to build something, it's very tangible in that way. It's very concrete. These are systems at play, right? You do this thing will happen, right? So and this isn't even looking at like the layers of, spirituality or connection or meaning, but like, just because you want to make a fire or build a structure doesn't just immediately mean it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're actually working with something else.
Yeah. And
it has its rules, right? And so that's reality. And if we get back into like this desire for control that is super highlighted in our culture, this idea that we are the top of things, and if we just, there's this other distorted way of thinking in terms of like, if we just think it will manifest. We just got to think hard enough for it. That is actually not reality. And because reality is just what it is, and our brains are so good at not being present with it.
Yeah.
Whether it's about we're focusing on the past or the future.
Yeah.
I just want to feel comfortable or whatever. I don't like how it's feeling, so I'm gonna like disconnect a little bit. And so we've developed a culture that's very good at saying, "Oh, I've got all kinds of ways to do that," and I'll use these. I mean, this was what strategies of just television were, and it's highlighted in all our devices. They're made to trigger our body to keep looking at it.
Yeah.
Right. In nature, if you're looking at a scene and something moves, we orient towards it. That's a part of our body. That's a part of our biology. And so these systems just say, oh, just make sure something on that screen moves every once in a while, right? You watch the news and like things are changing all the time. Why? Because it triggers your body to go like, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? Right? It's a constant stimulus. And you pick something up and you're just scrolling. Oh, there's a thing. Oh, I'm scrolling. Here's a new thing. Right? The newness catches us.
Yes.
And so this society aspects of it have developed like, great, we'll use that because then you'll be on this thing, you'll buy this thing, I'll make some money, it'll be great. Like that's what we're trying to do. It's not really about your wellness. It's not really about whether you're entertained or not. It's what's going to keep you on.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to call value. We're going to call entertainment.
Yeah. That's pretty powerful. Pretty powerful.
So to counter that, like you have to be aware that it's happening.
Yeah. You got to be aware that it's happening.
Be aware that it's happening.
And you got to deliberately shut yourself off from it.
Right.
I'm
not going to do that because I can feel that pull.
I got to know.
I
got to be in it. I know.
Oh, I saw this notification came up. I'm just going to go on Facebook for a second to check that notification. Then I'll be on it for some period of time. And then I get off and I'm like, and I didn't even look at what that notification was. And I just shake my head. And sometimes I'll go back on like, really, what is that? Oh, look at it and leave. And sometimes like, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
But because the design is for that kind of hook, which is not about the reality of reality, and kind of reality of the grid of it is framed as something to avoid. That's just uncomfortable. Why would you want to feel that? It's too hot. It's too cold. But, seasons are coming and going. It's comfortable and uncomfortable. I'm late. I'm early. I gotta get there fast. Everything got to. Well, where are you in all this?
Yes.
Right? Where are we in all that?
That's a good point. These are good points. These are the things that no, seriously, I think about these things all the time.
Yes.
As I am reinventing myself for the umpteenth time, and creating spaces that I want to hold sacred and give me a harmonious feel. Like I want to walk into my space and feel like, Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want it to be pleasing to the senses, and I want it to be devoid of outside.
The noise, yeah.
You know, so when I walk into this space, I'm not bombarded with, you know,
this is how you're supposed to
the
be.
world.
Yeah.
I want to come into the space and leave the world out there. You know, that's how I want to live.
Yeah. What's funny, I think again, this is like this, like, I don't know, polarities, and there is no out there. Right. So in that big way, like we're here, we're you know, wherever you are, there you're at, you know, whatever it is, and right, these things matter to us as people, right? What are the reminders? I need a reminder to, like, that I matter. I need a reminder that I can hold on to something that I'm not seeing reflected around me.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like the spaces that we create. These are reminders for us, because it's so hard to be in other spaces that aren't just not that, because that could be, you can be curious. Oh, this is just not me. Wow, I can be curious. But instead, it's the assault, right? The not you becomes a place of danger, becomes a place of disconnection, becomes a place of, like, no, you as who you are doesn't, just come and buy this and show up this way and consume this and eat this and drink this.
Yeah. And I've been thinking a lot about consumerism in ways that I haven't before. And I thought about this because I was like, oh, I need a new, and I realized, no, I don't need a new anything. Like I really don't. But things can convince you that you need a thing because you see it. They show it to you and you're like, oh, I'd like to have that. I think I need that. I don't need it.
Well, it's you know, going back to this verse, right? Stop praying for the kind of wealth and prosperity, right? Oh, I need the thing. If I can only get the thing, then my life will be better. No, you actually got to look at the life part.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what you need. That's what we need to look at and make sure that is together.
Yes. Yes. Make sure that is together. And that goes for everything. You cannot move into relationship until your life is together. You cannot move to another job until your life is together. You cannot move. Everything centers from the inside. I think I used to have a friend who used to tell me, there's no sense in looking for something outside of yourself because you will never find it. And I thought, it took me so long to figure that out. Like, what does that mean?
So,
like, what?
Just to do that, I was like, what if you need an apple?
But he was
no, I know what you mean.
But it was like happiness and joy and pleasure and all these things. And you're like, if I could just be somewhere else, I would be happier. If I could just be thinner, I would be happier.
Or the thought that if they have it, right? So if you're talking about a relationship, well, I'm not feeling love for me. Yeah. But if somehow I get somebody who I think is going to love me, then I will feel it. Then it'll be okay. Yeah. And that's not how that works. Not how it works. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. I mean, it is important to find people who love us, right? It's not saying no to that, but we also have to find our way. And I also want to say that it doesn't mean that you have to be done, right? Finished for these things to happen. But it needs that priority. Yeah. You need to have that, like, oh, I'm paying attention to that. I'm trying to love myself more. And imagine going into a relationship and stating with this person, not just I'm trying to meet your needs, but no, you need to meet my needs. I'm trying to love myself more, and I need you to be paying attention to that and supporting me to do that. Right. Versus that's a good conversation to have with somebody. Right. And otherwise you'll be surprised when down the road it's like, I'm not getting my needs met. I keep falling into this thing of like paying attention to this other person all the time. And, yeah. Huh, I wonder. And when you're doing that mess. I mean, when you're falling down the rabbit hole with somebody, and you got to stop yourself. But that's anything, whether it's a relationship to anything, food, people, things, addiction, whatever it is, all of it is a relationship. But if you can center your own mind, I think that goes a long way. Now, I'm not suggesting that anybody should like give up their therapist or their medicines or any of that. This is not that conversation. And don't be stupid. But it starts with you have to start with you have to do that internal work. Right. What do you really need? Yeah. But I don't think people really know what they need. It's sort of the noise of so yes, and the noise that's around us so much isn't turning us back into that place to ask.
Yeah.
Is, oh, what you need? Oh, you need this thing. That's what you need. You need the new thing here.
Click
That's
on
what
it.
you need, right? See, this person's got that. I think you need that.
You need that.
Because also, even if the marketing's not doing it, that's how we've grown up to
Yeah.
oh, they have the thing. Oh, I guess that's what we're supposed to be doing now. Is having that thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't, people looking at you. Oh, you don't have the thing.
You don't have the thing.
Well. Oh, you got this other thing that's sort of the thing. I see that.
And people yield to the choir of them, the choir of they, and that collective. You don't have the thing,
right?
And everybody wants to belong. Everybody wants to be in the in crowd. So I want the thing,
even though the thing doesn't actually satisfy
nothing.
The yearning,
yes,
and the need for the real connection. I mean, not that it's nothing, but it is also true that we get confused, and I think we don't really believe. I mean, I certainly wasn't encouraged either, like in some ways, family or real community. Like, really look at like where are those inner yearnings?
Yeah,
who are you? Where are your needs growing up? Right. Let's center what you need, and not that that all had to be about me, but like there was certainly a disconnection in that.
Yeah.
So then now I got to manage. So the world is really not about me. All right. So I got to live in a whole different way.
Yeah.
And so again, it's the finding out like, well, where actually is there more capacity for me to really be here?
Yeah.
Because like this is a magical opportunity we have to be alive, because we are going to die. Like that is right.
That's it.
That is going to happen. Everybody alive now
is going to
will
be
dead in 200 years.
Yeah. Or 100 years.
Right. I mean, there may be someone born now who's going to live 100 years, whatever, right? But in 200 years,
somebody gonna
all new people.
All new people.
All new people.
Yes.
Right? And so can we hold that? Oh, there's some preciousness here.
Yeah.
And again, not just about me, but this relationship and this connection, right? So even our relationship to each other, our relationship to ourselves, our family, our community, seen and unseen forces, the earth itself. Like, what would happen if we valued that we said we want a healthy, nurturing relationship between us and all the things we can think about?
Yeah. Wow.
Right? Yeah, that means we couldn't do certain things. Well, yes, that means you couldn't do certain things.
Yeah. And
the benefit.
Yeah.
And actually, for most of our existence as human beings, we did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was some sustain, and then industrialization, all kinds of things, certain way of looking at the world. I get, I'm worried about things, and now we're here. And that need and that preciousness of life is still here. So what are we going to do now? How are we going to be now? What makes us alive now? This is a good conversation. This is a good place to end right here. There you go. Oh my God, I needed this today. Thank you, Enroue. Yes. Always a good conversation. It's good. Always. Thank y'all for listening. I'm on my way out. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay tuned for Pundits, where we talk some ish about the political news of the day. I'll see y'all. All right now.